Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the 46th tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to begin our discussion on classes and objects. And those of you who have programmed with the object-oriented programming languages before, languages like C++ or Java or PHP must be knowing what classes are and what objects are, right? But those of you who haven't programmed with such languages before, or have programmed but haven't ever used classes, you guys don't have to worry, because we're going to check out a very simple application of classes in in this course. And I assure you that by the end of the next couple of tutorials, you will be absolutely comfortable with the concept of classes, right? So what I have here for you guys is a program that I made, and I could have made this program live in the tutorial for you, but I thought that just check out the length of this. It's like really big, so if I would have typed and if I would have explained things to you, then it would have taken a lot of time. So just to save time, I have created this program already. And let me first define some terms for you. So a class in programming terms is a construct that has some data members, and it also has some functions that use those data members or variables to perform some operations, right? So let me give you a real life example of a class. So let's say you want to represent all students across all universities in the world with one class. So you have to first think of some common characteristics that all students across the globe have. So all students have names, all students have age, all students have university IDs, and then they have gender, and what else, they write exams, of course, so they get their scores. So these characteristics can be thought of as variables or data members of the class. And then you can have certain functions like show info, and this function can simply display information about students. So you can display name, you can display age or gender, or the marks obtained. And then you can also have another function that asks the students to input their scores, and then it maybe performs some arithmetic operations on the values received, like adds the scores up or finds the average or something and displays that result. So you can have another function for that. So the point that I'm trying to make is that a class is a template that you can use, and you can create different objects for different students and use the same features for each student, and perform similar operations, right? So that's the purpose of using classes. So what I've got here for you is a program that has just one class, and the class itself has three functions, and one of which is a constructor function, and we're going to talk about that too in a while. So the name of the class is my class, and the first thing that you need to notice is that at the beginning of my program, on the very first line, I have the keyword class, and you have to put in this keyword whenever you're creating your class. So you type in class, give a space, and then type in a name for your class, and I've put in my class here. Then you have to put in a colon, just as we do when we define a function or when we work with decision statements or loops. We use a colon to get inside the block of something, right? So that's why I've used a colon here to get in the block of class. And the purpose of having this class is that it's supposed to be like a questionnaire, and we're going to ask users to tell us the color of their cars, and on the basis of whatever input they provide, we're going to show them the result of the survey, the survey as a whole. So we're going to ask let's say one user, Alex, what's the color of your car? And if Alex says that I have a black car, then we're going to update the black car count by 1, and we're going to eventually display the result to Alex. So Alex will be able to know how many black cars are there, of all the people who've been approached with the questionnaire, and how many white cars are there, how many gray cars are there, and how many green, blue, or red cars are there. So that's what we're going to try to do, and let's check out how we're going to do that. So initially we're assuming that we haven't approached anyone, so that's why I have defined a variable called sample, and I've given it the value 0, right? On the next line, I have another variable called w. It has the value 0 again, and w is supposed to be a short form for white. So we are assuming that the total number of white cars at the beginning, when we haven't asked anyone, is 0. And this actually isn't an assumption, it's just an obvious thing, because you haven't asked anyone, so you can't just have any value for number of white cars. And then we have another variable b, short form for black, which again has the value 0. G, which is a short form for gray, it also has the value 0. And then you finally have a variable called O, which is a short form for others, and it also has the value 0, right? Then I have a list variable called color underscore list, and it has three string values: black, white, and gray. So what we're going to do through these functions that you see following this variable is that we're going to ask the user for the color, and then we're going to see if the value that's been provided to us, if it lies in this list or not. So if it lies in the list, then it means that the color is either black, or it is white, or it is gray. If it is black, then we're going to update the variable b, we're going to increment it by 1. If it is white, then we're going to increment w by 1, and if it is gray, then we're going to increment g by 1, right? And if it doesn't lie in this list, then obviously we'll have to update the variable o, we'll have to increment it by 1, right? So on the next line, I have created a function, and this you guys must have made out because I have the def keyword here. But this function is different from all the other functions that we've seen in this course thus far. You know, it starts with 2 underscore characters, and then it has the keyword in it, and then it is followed by 2 more underscore characters, and it's a special function. It's a constructor function for this class, and you know, this function is called automatically when an object of the class is created, right? So you don't have to explicitly call this function. Whenever you create an object, the constructor function gets called. And as arguments, all functions in classes in Python take in the argument self. You know, self has to be one of the arguments. So if your function takes more than one argument, then self has to be the first one, and then you can have your other arguments, right? So whenever we're going to create an object, we're going to pass in the name of the person who's answered our questionnaire, you know, as an argument. So that's why the constructor function takes self as the first argument, which is compulsory, and it takes name as the second argument. Inside the body of the constructor function, we have stored the argument value that we've received for the argument for the parameter name in a variable that is local to this class, right? So we've defined another variable called name, and you could have any variable here, like you could have any name here, like var or string or something, right? But the point that I'm making is that you need to have it local to this class. So the syntax that you have to use is you have to first put in the name of your class, follow that up with a dot, and then the name of your variable. So if you want to store it in the variable name, you have to put in myClass.name and then the equal to symbol, the assignment operator, and then the argument that you've received, which is name. On the next line, I have a print statement which asks the user for the color of his or her car, and then I have stored the input just received using the input function in another variable that is local to this class, supposed to be local to this class, and you know, this variable is called color, and again the syntax remains the same, myClass.color equals input. On the next line, I have updated the sample variable by 1, and the reason why I've done this is that whenever the constructor function is called, it means that you created a new object, and that means that you have approached someone, so your sample size has to be incremented, right? So the sample size is the number of people you've approached with your survey or with a questionnaire or whatever. So you know, every time the constructor function is called, the sample variable is updated, right? On the next line, I have defined another function, and this one's called check underscore color, and again it takes self as one of the arguments, and as I said earlier, we're going to check whether the color received lies in this list or not. So that's what we're doing using this if statement here. If myClass.color lies in, we're using the in membership operator, myClass.color underscore list. So we're checking if the value lies in this list or not. If it does, then we're going to check whether you know, the value is black, or if it is white, or if it is gray. So to check if it is black or not, we'll have to use the index position 0 with the list variable, because black is the first element in the list, white is the second element, so you know, white will have the index 1, and gray is the third element, so the gray will have the index 2, right? So to check if it is black, we'll type in if myClass.color equals myClass.color underscore list with the index 0. If that is the case, then we are going to increment the number of black cars, the count of that, by 1, and if that is not the case, then we'll have to check whether the color is white or not. If that is the case, then we're going to update the variable w. If that is not the case, then we'll obviously update gray, right? Because if it's not black, if it's not white, but if it is present in the list, then it means it has to be gray. And if you know, the color was not found in the list, so you know, if this if statement evaluated to false, then we have a corresponding else block for this if statement, and in this else block we have updated the variable o, right? And we've done this because if it's not black, if it's not white, if it's not gray, then it has to be some other color. That's why we updated others, right? On the next line, I have defined another function, and this one's called display underscore result. It again takes self as one of the arguments, and then in the function we have first displayed a message hello using the print statement, and then the name of the person who's answered our question. So that value is available to us in the variable name that's local to the class, so my class.name. And then on the next line I have another print statement that displays the total number of black cars, and that value is available in the variable b local to the class, so that's why my class.b. And then the number of white cars, number of gray cars, and finally the total number of other cars. And then we've also displayed the sample size, right? And this value is available in my class.sample. On the next line, we have moved out of the body of the class and we have created our object, right? So the name that I've given to my object is my obj, short form for my object. I've used the assignment operator, follow that up with the name of the class, which is my class. And since I have to pass in the name of the person who's answered the question as an argument, because that is what the constructor function takes, I've passed in John within double quotes as an argument, right? So John will eventually get stored in the variable myClass.name, right? And then I obviously have to, the constructor function gets called automatically, so I don't have to explicitly call this, but I have to call in the other two functions. The other two functions are check color and display results. So I have done that by typing in the name of my object, my obj, then a dot, and then the name of the function check underscore color. This is for the first function, and similarly display underscore result for the second function. So let me execute this program and show you guys the output. I'll press F5 to execute it, and when I do it, I get this message, what's the color of your car? So let me type in black here, and when I press the enter key, I see the message, hello John, total number of black cars 1, and total number of white cars 0, total number of gray cars 0, and sample size is 1, right? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create another object in the file. So let me get back to the file, and let me call this object my obj2, and again I'll type in the name of my class, my class, and as an argument I'll pass in Roger, right? And then I'll make calls to the two functions, my obj2 dot check underscore color and a set of empty parentheses, and then my obj2 dot display underscore result and a set of empty parentheses, and that's it. I'll save the file and I'll execute it again. So again now we're going to see the result for John as well as for Roger. So for John I'll type in green as the input, and for Roger I'll type in white as the input. So now we see that when we type in green and press the enter key, we see the message hello John, and that's because the first object was created and the constructor function was called, and then we had the calls to the other two functions for the first object. So we see that the number of other cars is 1 because we supplied green as the input. So green is not black, not white, not gray, so that's why you would see others incremented and the sample size was 1. And then for Roger we supplied white as the input, so now white cars have also been incremented by 1, and others obviously stays 1, and the sample size has been incremented to 2, right? So this is a lot of content. This tutorial has been running on for ages, it seems to me, and I didn't want to make it so long. I just hope that I didn't bore you guys, and those of you who have stuck with me till now, I really wish I could show you all this in a simpler way or in a shorter way, but I had to explain everything to you, and we are probably going to check out 1 or 2 more examples of classes. So we're not going to discuss classes in so much depth in the coming tutorials, but this was important, right? I hope you guys get the point, and thank you so much for watching this tutorial. And you can obviously go back and look at the code and ask me any questions if you have. Just put in your messages, comments, whatever, and I'm going to try to reply to as many of them as possible. And I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care, guys.